Hello everyone. Today we'll be doing a challenge, a one road city challenge, and I'll explain the rules as I start going through this so we can jump right into it and start seeing how this is going to be built. So the rules of this are going to be fairly simple. We're going to start off with creating a roundabout here. And basic rules are normally I play with a lot of mods, so I've disabled almost every mod. The only mods that I have left are purely visual things like the first person camera. But every other mod has been disabled for the purposes of this challenge. That includes things like traffic manager, other roads. So you can see I'm only playing with vanilla roads and assets right now. And the other main rule is that other than this highway coming in or out, because there has to be a way for traffic to come in and out, and this roundabout, there is only going to be one road throughout the entire city, which means that as I build the road, and as the city expands, I can continue snaking it and doing whatever I need to as long as the only exit leads to this roundabout, essentially creating a giant circle. The roundabout does kind of create a, well, are you really using two roads situation, because it does allow people to turn around and go the other way fairly quickly. I personally don't think it can be done very well without this exception, but it can be done really well. The other rule I have for myself is that there can be no pedestrian pathways created. I've done this challenge before, and I was able to use pedestrian pathways and bike paths and things of that nature. It made the challenge trivially easy, in my opinion, because people were able to walk quickly from one side of town to the other without having to use their car, and it got rid of all the traffic problems. I will be allowing myself to use parks as a way for people to get from point A to point B, sort of. But I'm going to try to avoid doing that as much as possible. As we start out, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of my industry closest to the roundabout. This will help offset some of the trucking problems that occur with one road cities and industrial areas that have one road in or out in general. And then I'm going to start placing all of my residential areas down here as far away from the roundabout as possible, because most people are going to be just commuting this way. So they'll be able to commute that way, turn around, and come back, and then turn around down here and go that way. Whereas trucks and commercial stuff are going to have to travel basically all the way around, and it's going to be very frustrating. This worked fairly well last time, if I remember right. The other thing that's going to help is building our power plants as wind turbines out here in the ocean and putting our water pumping upstream and then our drain pipes downstream here, and just having one little water pipe that goes all the way around. Um, we don't have to use only one water pipe, although right now that's the most effective way to cover as much area as possible, is just have the one pipe go all the way around. And by having our drain pipe down here and our inlet up here, with the water flowing this way, our inlet will never get polluted. Should work out fairly well. We're going to unpause and we're going to watch people move in now. And we're also, while we're here, we're going to try to set up our traffic as much as we can. Nobody is really, there we go. We got people moving in now. So here come the people all moving in. They don't have any jobs or anything yet, but they're more than happy to move in. And we're also going to change up this road just because it's a bit weirdly set up right now. That should help. This should help with the lane mathematics. And while we're at it, let's fix the lane mathematics right here as well. Since we are playing on vanilla, I don't have the lane connector tools, which is going to be a little bit frustrating if traffic starts to build up on this bigger road here. Oh, I forgot to put in power lines. There we go. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. I'm not used to putting in power lines because one of the mods I always use is power line roads. So anytime anything's connected to a road, it's automatically got power. But I'm playing on vanilla ChipNRat, vanilla. Remember, you have to do things the old way. There we go. We're finally hitting some population here. We got over 100 people now moved in this tiny little area, and now we're starting to get some commercial buildings and some industrial areas. Going to start expanding our road network this way, which is going to really upset some of the people who've had to drive this way, like this poor little garbage truck here who has to now drive all the way down to the coast to get back. But we did need to start thinking about expanding our little area here because it's going to be too much for people to handle. There we go. We've got loads of cars now all moving in. This is all the residents who've moved in recent days. We have over 200 now people moving into the city or who have theoretically moved in, and we're starting to see some build up down here with some offices help offset some of that industrial demand without adding too many trucks. Offices are really great for the center because they do offset the industrial demand and they do prevent people from having to commute as far without adding a lot of trucks. I think that's going to be a big key in this one road challenge, especially as we get a little bit larger here. So we've officially expanded our road network and made it connect into one big loop. We will be getting rid of this connection here as we expand, but this will allow people to kind of get around both ways as we get larger and larger. And what we'll do is we'll start snaking this way and filling in a lot of the rest of this as our city expands. We're not quite there yet. We don't need it yet. Um, but as we fill up this second thing, I'll build a third and then a fourth and then a fifth, and we'll see if we can fill up this whole tile without traffic getting too obnoxious. We are starting to see a lot of industrial demand as well as worker shortages all around here, and I think it's because people have to travel super far to get to and from work. So we're going to try to add some more houses down here. We do have a few that have built in down here, but we need a few more. And then we'll also try to get rid of some of this industrial demand by building some up here. It's not going to be too pretty, and this area will eventually be destroyed right in here as we expand that road network, as I've talked about previously. But for now, it should help offset some of this demand. As we expand, we're also going to have to start building in some of these essential services, like fire departments and clinics. Keep our people happy. It's going to build in a lot of this area, though, that otherwise would be used for houses, which can be a bit frustrating, but luckily, because it's all a single road, you don't have to worry about offshoot roads. You just keep building down the line every time they need extra little help. Gotta keep an eye out on our power production as well as our water usage. I forgot to check on that, and I did actually lose power for a few people for a while. And also, these people are complaining about water shortages. Since we've got a bit of extra money, I'm just going to go through now and add a bunch of water here. This way, as we expand, it won't be a problem for a little bit longer, at least until we have to add another pump and another drain. You can see people are building in quite nicely here. We have filled up this entire road. We've got a few abandoned buildings, but we've filled up this entire bottom road here. And we're officially over 1,000 people, so we are at 1,200 people, almost 1,300 people in this one road town. And as you can see, there's no traffic as of yet. I do expect to start seeing a lot of traffic at about 5,000 people, maybe more like 10,000. That's usually where I see it in a normal city, so that's about where I'd expect to see it here. But we'll keep expanding and see where it goes. This area down here with these office buildings keeps being very problematic, and I keep having to destroy buildings because they don't have enough workers. So I've put in a lot more residential. As you can see, I've now doubled the amount of roads here, and this is all residential to hopefully get them to come down here. I might have to expand the road though a little bit and make it a bicycle lane road at the very least, on top of having just cars. I'm still going to not have any paths between the roads, like cutting in here or across here, which would significantly reduce any problems with traffic or people getting across town. I did just remember that part of the problem with the office buildings is I had no schools, so I placed down a bunch of schools and then realized I've almost completely run out of money, so I had to turn all that down and basically undo all of the hard work that I was doing there. The city is running into a few financial troubles as well as growing pains, but we are above 3,000 people now, and I would say that's a pretty good milestone, and now above 3,500. So we're doing pretty good. We're just running into a few financial issues which could probably be solved by making things a little more high density and increasing our taxes a little bit. We've been running into a lot of problems with fire after I reduced a lot of my fire fighting funding. Luckily, we're now earning enough that I've been able to fully restore firefighting funding, and we don't seem to be having nearly as many problems with fires now. However, we are running into a few other problems as we approach the 5,000 citizen mark in our town. We're running out of space, garbage, workers, traffic is building up, water, power, everything is starting to become a bit of a problem. But we are getting some more educated workers from the little bit of school funding that we have, and so our offices are starting to be occupied, and we are starting to increase some of those workspaces, which is nice. We've had to add a second drain as well as a second pump for all of our water and sewage. The original ones just weren't cutting it anymore. I've changed a lot of the housing near the front of the road. I guess we could call this the entrance and that the exit, although they're both entrances, I suppose, to high density housing in hopes that we can maybe get some more people packed around these schools and also get more people in without expanding the roads too much. The traffic and the length of travel for people to get to work and also all of the industry areas is becoming a bit of a problem. So I'm going to start going high density as opposed to low density and seeing if we can make our population go higher and increase our tax revenue without increasing the length of the road too much for now. One of the biggest problems that I'm running into with this one road city, and one road cities in general, I think, have this problem, is the amount of infrastructure like clinics or trash collectors or schools or fire departments you have to put down because the distance they can travel is only by road and there's nothing connecting any of these roads. So, despite this clinic being right here, these people who are literally right behind it can't get to that clinic. And any ambulance that needs to get from, say one of these houses to a clinic, they have to go all the way down the road or all the way down the road this way. Same thing with trash collection. So I have 3 recycling centers here. You can see they're not reaching any of these houses because even if they go down the road this way, in order to finish their route, they have to drive all the way across, and they can't make it all the way across. So what you have to do oftentimes is put one every so often, basically once every loop, I guess you could call it, and just hope that you have enough trucks running around that they pick it all up. But the problem is with that, then you're spending a lot of money on extra buildings that you wouldn't normally need in a normal city skyline city that has a bunch of roads offshooting with each other. So it it becomes a bit of a problem as you expand these roadways, which is why what I've been doing lately here is making everything more high density all the way down as opposed to making the roadway longer. Of course, we will eventually have to make the road longer, but for now, that's been a decent solution and it's allowed me to gain a lot of money without building all this extra infrastructure. In order to help offset some of this garbage problem that we're having, because we're starting to see a significant buildup, I am going to put in the recycling city service, as well as increase our education so that we can start using offices instead of high industrial, and recycle plastics so that our recycling centers work with better efficiency and everything like that. While this will cost us a little bit of money, all these policies we're putting in, they should help reduce garbage accumulation as well as reduce the load on our road networks from having to have less garbage trucks out there. As we start getting bigger, we might also want to consider power usage and water usage to help reduce the amount of strain on our water collection and our power collection infrastructure, but I'm going to leave that for later. There we go. Once we got our power situation sorted out a little bit, we're earning quite a bit of money. Not as much as we were a minute ago. We've just added a bunch of elementary schools and other things. We've converted about a quarter of the city to high density residential buildings, and we've added a few more roads, and we are well on our way to 10,000. Every so often, traffic does really build up on this roundabout, and you can see it is becoming a bit of a problem with this industrial area. If I was on a different map, I would consider putting a cargo harbor right here. However, there's the slight problem of I can't build one here. It doesn't connect to the route. So if I do build a cargo hub of some sort, it's going to have to probably be an airport because I'm not going past one tile on this. And I think the airport would have to go over here, which means I'm going to have the road go up and then back in to this big loop, which kind of defeats the purpose. If you can get a cargo harbor somewhere about halfway in this snake, you can really mitigate a lot of the truck traffic that has to go through this one little area here, because that's the biggest problem is all of the trucks have to go through there. Most of the people, they're going to go directly to one place and then pop back out and go the opposite way. They don't usually have to go all the way through. However, garbage trucks and things of that nature, they have to snake all the way through this, which is where you end up with this giant traffic problem here right at the entrance to the roundabout. There we have it, 10,000 citizens in a one-road city. We're not done yet. I will be making a second video. However, I think this is where we're going to stop this video here, as it is getting a bit long. As a summary of where we are, here's a couple of the city services that we have. Our education, as you can see, is pretty abysmal. Only 18% of our citizens have graduated high school at this point. However, we are starting to get that number up on elementary school, with 47% having graduated. We're slowly building out our elementary school infrastructure. Our high schools are going to be a bit behind as we don't have the money to take care of it. And kind of following the rules of One Road City, I have not put in any other type of infrastructure for transportation, including but not limited to, I have not yet put any bike paths, I have not put any pedestrian paths, or any public transit of any kind whatsoever. However, I will say traffic flow is still 88%, and that's because everywhere except this one intersection by the roundabout and the immediately preceding areas by the industrial areas, there is no traffic because everyone, like I said, they're going to go down the road directly to their destination and then directly back. So everyone is going along the same path at the same speed, and nobody is interfering with anybody else by turning. Anyway, that is it for this week's video. As I mentioned, I'll be doing a part 2 at some other point, and we'll try to get this up past 20,000 people and maybe 30,000, and we'll see how far we can take it. For today, I think this is a really good start. We filled in about a third of the one tile with roads and houses and buildings, and we're starting to really take off as a city where we've built up a lot of high density buildings. We're off to a great start. We're doing good things, and I think this has been a really interesting challenge so far, and I hope you will join me next time I update this challenge city that is also mostly vanilla.